Action.
Hi, I'm Don McLeod, aka TC from the Howling, and I'm here today to talk about some of the special effects that were used in the movie, which was done in 1980. And this is for my friend JC for her project. So I'm honored to get to talk a little bit about how we did the special effects. My company member and dear friend Adam Mayer is filming this on his smartphone, and he can be reached at adammayer.com. So, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure. Is that right?
No,
Who knows?
no,
don't segue. We only have a few minutes.
It's not right.
So the Howling was pretty interesting. It's become a classic horror film. You know, when we did it, it was competing with American Werewolf in London, and it kind of it tended to win out. But I played this loner character that was in what was called the Colony, and it was where humans lived, and it was actually filmed up in Mendocino, California, which ironically is where I grew up. So I went back to my hometown, but the effects were what's called practical effects. That meant everything you see on film was actually existed. So it was obviously pre-CGI, computer-generated imagery, and I was the wearer or victim of a lot of these various effects. So it was pretty interesting. One of the effects was I have my arm chopped off because I'm in werewolf form, and I attack one of the characters in the film, and she picks up an axe and hacks my werewolf paw off, and I'm left with a bloody stump. And in the movie you see a hand twitching like this, and it's a werewolf paw, and then slowly it transforms and morphs into like a human hand with a bloody wrist. And the hand is actually Rob Bottin, who did and designed all effects. Wonderful special effects artist. It's his hand. And I'm in the werewolf suit, and then it cuts to just the hand. So then the rest of the film, I'm walking around with this bloody stump sticking out of my shirt. And how they created it was they took chicken bones, because we had chicken for lunch, which you always have on the movie shoot. We had chicken for lunch, and they saved all the chicken bones, and Rob chopped them up and stuck them into this like foam wrist, and then he put a bunch of Cairo syrup, red with food coloring on, and I had this disgusting bloody stump with fractured chicken bones sticking out of it, and that was my hand. So that was no CGI. And the problem was at lunch all the flies were landing on my hand and feasting on. So that was one problem, and it was so disgusting no one will sit with me. So there were a lot of interesting characters, and Dee Wallace was freaked out by anything bloody, and she was the heroine in the movie, and she goes, "That's so disgusting, I can't stand this." And the other effects were the werewolf heads that changed. The human head, Eddie Quist, who was my brother. I was TC Quist, and Eddie Quist was the lead werewolf, and I was the kind of the second lead werewolf in it. But Eddie's head was one of the first transformations that was ever done on film that was a real advancement from the old kind of cut and paste imagery of gluing something on film a few frames, glue some more prosthetic pieces on, and this was all done in a single shot by Rob Bottin, and this was groundbreaking effects. And so you had a jaw that like slid out about 8 inches, and teeth that came down, big long teeth. And this all was, it was shot on part of it on a stand. It was a puppet head, and then part of it was, I was standing behind some of it, and you see the eyes turn glazed, and the brow grows out, and the hair comes out, and this was really groundbreaking, and Rob figured all of this out. So another interesting special effects scene in this was where I had to, I get shot by a silver bullet, but I had to wear these lenses that you can see in this photo of me. And the lenses were painted by hand, so they were giant contact lens, but unfortunately it wasn't Rob's fault. One of the crew people painted the lens in the middle of the night because they had to get them, and they used paint. They used acrylic paint they would use to like paint a model airplane or something, and they didn't realize that that would be a really bad thing to put in human eyes. So they stuck these lenses in me, and I had them on for about 5 minutes, and just my eyes started just burning and going crazy, and they went ahead and filmed the scene, and I had lost my vision for about 3 hours afterwards, and I couldn't drive my car home. We were filming it in Malibu on the beach, and I couldn't drive home. They had to have somebody drive my car, and a crew member drove me home, and I was just cursing and rubbing my eyes, and they had ice packs on them, and you know, I went to the doctor the next day, and they said I was lucky I didn't get permanently blinded. But that's another problem with practical effects, that you sometimes have to make quick changes on a relatively low budget instantaneously, and so I survived that particular one. My costume was prepared. It was a sheepskin vest and old beat-up jeans, and I believe a T-shirt underneath it, and I had fake teeth in it, kind of like buck teeth. They weren't vampire teeth, but just malformed teeth. And they got my costume ready by tying it behind one of the production crew trucks and driving it 5 miles through a dirt road. And then they unhooked it. The costume says, "Here you go, Don." You know, I go, "Well, it's not that sanitary." And they go, No, it looks great. You'll be fine. You can take a shower another lifetime." So I wore that then for the whole movie. So for 5 weeks of working on this film, I was getting into this just absolutely roadkill, festering costume, and it was kind of organically right that the character would be in this. So that's another effects thing. They had werewolves in the film. Obviously, we were all werewolves, but they had to test these wolves, and one of the tests was pretty funny. They did it out in part of Los Angeles, the suburbs that, you know, kind of nice, respectable, middle-class families live in, and I went out there, and they had these fake wolves, and they called them rocket wolves, and they had a cannon, and they put it up the wolf's butt, and it was an air compressor. They had a full-size, realistic, like a wolf, like a taxidermied wolf, and they fired this air-compressed cannon, and they shot this werewolf into the air because they were just testing it, and it was going to fly through the woods, and then cut to, you know, one of us and we had werewolf costumes that we actually wore, like a torso and head, and we would like run around in these heads. But the testing of this wolf, they fired it up, and they wanted to see how high it would go, and it went way farther than they thought, and it landed on the power lines in the middle of suburbia in El Monte, California here, and it was hanging and then dangling. So you had this like life-size wolf hanging from the power lines, and everyone kind of looked and went, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? We got to get out of here." "No, we can't. We need the wolf." So then somebody called the cops and said there's a dead wolf hanging from the power lines, and, you know, we were all hiding and then waiting, and finally we got it down, and the scene was, there's a scene in the Howling. So that pretty much gives you a little insight into the effects.
Thank you, Don.
And for JC, I hope this gives you a little insight into what you need.